Bounty Hunters. Life on the blockchain.
Welcome back to Bounty Hunters Life on the Blockchain, because we live on the blockchain. And my guest today, who I'll introduce shortly, definitely lives on the blockchain and elsewhere. But first, let's give a shout out to Recon, getrecon.xyz/riptide. I love dropping Recon. Recon is, they handle the invariant testing. They are the kings of it with Centrifuge, Liquidity, and Badger. These guys, if you want to get fuzzing done on your project, you want some pros to do it, reach out to Alex, getrecon.xyz/riptide. They'll give you $5,000 off for a new customer on your invariant testing engagement. You're not really serious about security unless you get some fuzzing done. You gotta fuzz. It's amazing what he'll post and just show you how you could break something that you thought was unbreakable when you fuzz it. So check it out. Next up, if you want to get started or if you want to learn some new skills, go to rareskills.io/riptide. Get 10% off one of their boot camps. They have Solidity, ZK, Rust, Uniswap v3, all that stuff. So really good resource. I highly recommend it. Jeff knows what he's doing over there, runs a great project. So if you're the kind of guy that doesn't learn on his own and you like just to be in that structured setup, sign up for a boot camp and they take you A to Z through all these pieces of tech. So check it out. Okay, so our guest today needs no introduction. Welcome, Mr. Lonely Sloth.
Hello.
Humble Sloth. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Dude, who are you, man? I mean, like you came out of nowhere, but then I did some research on you, and you've been in this game a long time, in the security game. Am I right?
Yeah, quite a few years.
Quite a few.
Uh, since my first bounty was 2019. That was before Immunefi launched and all the other platforms, all the contests and stuff. It was actually to HackerOne. It was pretty much the only place. Um, and
This is Maker, right?
Yeah, no, actually before that, there were a few other projects. It was smaller stuff. Um, and the first bounty I got was, I think, I don't remember the exact number, but it was nice. It was like a few thousand, like 5,000, 3,000, something like that. And I thought it was really lucky getting that first one because that was not my first submission. It was really, really lucky. and I thought, whoa, this works. And after that, even when I got multiple reports closed and stuff, no, I know this works. I know they pay. Eventually, someone pays. And later that same year, Maker did their bounty, which was kind of normally bug bounties are for mainnet stuff, production stuff. They did one before they launched the multi-collateral DAI. So this was very interesting in a sense, a little bit like today's contests, but it was really bounties. It was a fixed amount per bug category.
And was this on a platform or was this independent?
Yeah, HackerOne.
HackerOne. Okay, so this was 2019. This is before Immunefi.
Yeah,
yeah,
way before. And then I found one high, two criticals. The most important one got me 50K, which was absolutely amazing.
That's huge. That's a huge amount.
It's still a great amount today. At the time, I think it was like, I'm not even sure Web2 ever paid something like that. And I think at least publicly known, it was the largest bounty for Web3. And I was covered by CoinDesk, I think. It was huge. And it quite literally changed my life, right? It was lot of money for me. And then after that, I was decided that I would not. This was not a one-off thing. Oh, this was a nice year I had, so a
So
good time, and
did
then
that give you your exit from like normal life?
no, not yet,
Not yet. Not yet. Okay.
not yet.
But that
And
gave you
then
the
there was
confidence.
it gave me the confidence, but at the same time, I was always kind of okay. But where's the next payout coming from? Because
Mhm.
there weren't that many projects with bug bounties, and there was not enough for a full-time job. Uh, I did get a few others, and then I started getting some private audits. Uh, I had no idea how to charge for it, so probably charged very low,
Mhm.
very low price tag for that, and that was not enough for a full-time job. And then there was 2020, and I don't know, it all dried out. There weren't many, and I thought maybe I'll go to Web 2. Um, I had some success, but I think the whole year of 2020, I got like 15K from Web 2. That's
But
good.
you had quite a few bugs, Web 2 bugs. I'm just looking at your HackerOne
Yeah,
profile,
yeah, quite a few.
but they just don't pay.
They 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 pay very low in
Yeah.
general. And I had a Web 2 also, some Web 2 bugs in Web 3 projects in 2020. But yeah, it was all like it was COVID and everything was weird. And I was not in the mood to like big career change. I was just happy I was alive. I still had a job and stuff like that. And then January 2021, I think, I got an email from some people I had never heard of. They said, "Oh, we're starting this new bug bounty platform. We found your name on a CoinDesk story about a maker bug. What do you think? You just take a look at this list of projects, go to their GitHub, and then send us an email with your findings." And I was 100% sure they were scammers. But yeah, I was thinking, what the hell? Let me try. And then I found a bug. Uh, like I got my first payout at Immunefi in February, I think. I was the first. I think that was the first Immunefi bounty, if
Was
I'm
this
not
Zapper?
mistaken. No, it was Badger DAO,
Ah, okay. Badger.
and it was very nice one as well. At the time, it was classified as critical. If it were today, it would be probably not even a medium, but that was a
What?
different time.
Why is that?
It was more of like a map stuff, minor extractable
Okay.
value,
Unheard
sandwich
of back then.
attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very new stuff
Like
back
a
then.
contract not having slippage in there, something like that.
Yeah, more like you could steal all the rewards for yourself by sandwiching a transaction
Ah,
or
okay.
something like that. Um, but I think, don't remember very well.
Mhm.
It's been a long time. It's been 5 years, right? 4 years. And then yeah, and then I found another one, and then I looked at my bank account, and most of my money was coming from Immunify, and
You're like, what the
yeah,
fuck am I doing? This is it. I
yeah,
found the path.
what I'm doing, 40 hours a week or more often more than than
Mhm.
that. Uh, Sometimes 1 a.m. fixing stuff in production. What am I doing? Let's just go for it. And now I have a little bit of savings from those few bucks. And if everything goes south, I just come back and back for a job. So,
And what kind of cushion did you had? Not in money terms, but runway. Was
not
it like 12 months?
no, 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 like
Not
three
even
months.
3 months. Okay, shit.
Yeah.
That's confidence.
Yeah, but that there was something else that was really good was at the time Immunefi had the White Hat Scholarship,
I did that
and
too. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe I started that because back then, like it was small, and I would sometimes just chat with Mitchell, and he was like, "Why do you still have a job? Why don't you quit and just work for?" There was, I don't know, man. I don't want to go one day and not having enough to pay rent. And but what do you need? If you pay me a salary, maybe a little bit lower than what they pay me today, and then you can have it back on the bounties or something. Just guarantee me for a few months that I have a salary. And and he said, "Well, you got yourself a deal." And yeah, and then I quit my job and started hunting full time. And of course, I made a lot of more money than the salary I negotiated.
Did you pay Mitchell back?
Uh, Sorry?
Did you pay Mitchell back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
So you started the White
and
Hat Scholarship Program, which
I
is a great
I'm
program.
not
It's
entirely
fantastic.
sure. Maybe.
Let's pin it on you. I think you started it. Mitchell
Okay, I
gave you a
started.
sales call. He gave you a sales call. This is how he started Immunefi, Googling hackers and trying to find people. He
Exactly.
found you, and then you started the White Hat program. That's pretty awesome, man.
And then
That's
this
very
that
cool.
2021 was fantastic. Like it was it was the golden age in some ways. I mean, I could find like stuff that today would be caught like by first time SR in a contest that pays a total of 5,000.
Uh-huh.
And I could catch it like contract was deployed. I got it. I submitted. I got confirmation in 2 hours.
And
And I was
and
paid $20,000. It was
and
amazing.
and at that time, Solidity was it at 0.7? Do you remember?
Uh, I think zero point 0.8 had just came out.
Okay.
Very few contracts were zero point 0.8.
So yeah, there was still the overflow bugs in the
Yeah,
wild.
lots.
Yeah.
Lots of overflow bugs. Lots of basic reentrancy stuff. Yeah, it was all Solidity. There was nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
There were no like blockchain bug bounties. Everything was Solidity. And it was amazing. I I had my first couple six-figure bounties
Mm-hmm.
that later that year. Yeah, I felt so absurdly rich and, and like it was kind of no, it at some point it was okay. Now that's my life. It's gonna be that easy, and I'm gonna do that for the rest of my life. I'm gonna get really really rich. And 2022 was not like that.
You got brought down back to earth.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great year. I mean, I got considerably more than what used to be my salary, but it was not that easy. I had to grind a lot and learn a lot of new stuff, um, and then started the blockchain projects. Uh, but the thing that really got me was the two 10 million bounties that weren't me.
Oh yeah,
And then there
that
was
got
this
everyone.
massive crypto crash, and I thought, fuck, I just lost my chance. That's it. I missed
Mm.
it. Those 10 million bucks, that was it. I could have like made retirement money and I didn't. And I spent a lot of money and now, yeah, now I'm screwed.
Mm.
But I kept going. I was not gonna beg for a job back, and I was still making more than at my previous job. And then 2023 was amazing. I found a bunch of ZK stuff, and 2024 is pretty good as well. And this year is going pretty good so far,
Just kind
especially
of good. Yeah.
especially this one bug. Uh, and yeah, I think, but it's every year is different. Every year is different. You have to learn new stuff. It's yeah. you never know exactly how it's gonna go. You find a 6-figure bounty, and then you spend months not finding anything, and then you get to 20,000,
Yeah.
and you think, oh, that's my life now. No, you don't know. And then you find a 2 million, but it's crazy. It's a crazy life.
It is crazy. There's so many ups and downs. It's so like what was your biggest down? Like how did you ever get that moment where you just said, "That's it, man. I suck. I can't find shit." Like you're dead end after dead end for weeks.
Oh, I spent a few times. I spent like 3 months without a bug.
How'd
It
you
was,
feel?
I don't know. It depends a little bit. If my last payout before that was like multiple 6 figures, I usually feel pretty good. I'm like, okay. It's just, yeah, I could take some time off anyway, and stuff like that. But if I'd been like just grinding and getting smaller payouts, and then several months without the payout, and then I feel like that. That's it. That was it. It was a nice run, but that's it.
That
I'm
always
not gonna
comes
find
back.
another one.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, this happens to me. I think that it must happen to everyone, where you get on a streak, and I see it in the guys I talk to on the podcast, and you see it on Twitter. People start they hit something, and then like let's talk White Hat Mage, right? He was killing it, and maybe he had a great bug that he had found in multiple protocols, or else he just was hitting them. Sometimes you're just on fire, and
Yeah,
then he'll just universal rearrange, and then he'll just have a lull in hunting operations, and then the next guy's going to come up, and then boom, he's going to be on fire, and it's like it's just, are you ready to ride the roller coaster?
exactly. It's a roller coaster, which is kind of crazy when you've been years, because you have a life, right? You need to know. Uh, I mean, there are people who just, I don't know. Like there's like this meme, like people making 6-figure bounties, and still living with the just a bottle of beer and some pizza in the fridge or something like that, and then you spend all the money, and then. But no, I try to have like a fairly normal life, and then how much can I spend a year? I don't know, and then I have to kind of guess. But I mean, I was used to having a salary. There's a bunch of professions that are like that. Like if you work in real estate, maybe there's a slow year, you make
Mm-hmm.
half. Uh, that's that's just part of this profession, right? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think the worst is when you've been a long time without finding bugs, and then you find a bug, and then you don't get paid. That's
Oh,
like
that's bad.
that's like how do you say it, like kicking when you're down, like
Yeah.
and then if you fuck this shit. A few times I thought like, no, I'm not gonna do this again. This is too hard. I mean, emotionally, like you spend months, you find something, you know it's great, you know it's for real, and you think this is it, this is gonna be $1 million, and then you don't get paid anything. Uh, you get better at identifying what will actually get paid, and managing your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's still hard when it happens.
Where do you think that field is right now? Like you're describing Solidity, back then where it's kind of easy pickings. I think because there weren't many of you, and like during that time, I'm just getting into it. I'm DeFi degen, so I don't even know how to read a contract. So now Solidity is more popular. You have so many more resources. You have LLMs. You have all these things. Where do you see that being now? Do you see that as like ZK, not as easy pickings, but the place where you're gonna get the best kind of bang for your buck researching?
It's hard. It's always changing. It's a moving target. So to be honest, ZK I think was a bit like that in 2023, when I had three really big bounties, 6-figure
Mm-hmm.
bounties in ZK. And then I have a few good bounties in 2024, and then didn't have any ZK. I mean, I had other bounties, any ZK bounties, and then the Solana one that was huge, but quite an outlier.
Hmm.
Uh, there aren't that many uh, uh, bug bounty programs for ZK that pay top money.
Hmm.
One thing that happens is the rollups. Most of them are actually permission. So you can basically never make the top bounty with a ZK bug
Hmm.
because there's always it would always require a malicious sequencer or something like that.
So they could wiggle out
And
of it. Yeah. Because we
yeah,
run the sequencer and yeah.
yeah. So and it's understandable. Uh, a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's just bad faith actors,
Hmm.
but often it's understandable. I mean, uh, they're looking after their investors' interests, their community, their right. They can just hand millions of dollars like that.
No one is going to just hand you that. No
Exactly.
fucking way. The bounty that you got paid, these seven-figure bounties are tough to get. Period.
And it's understandable because if there is a permissioned thing in the way, it reduces quite a lot the chance that this will get exploited.
Hmm.
Um, the one that wasn't permissioned at all was Aztec, and I did get a very high bounty from them. It was
So 450, I think.
450K.
Yeah.
So, but to be honest, if I had started like 6 months earlier, 1 year earlier, maybe I'd have made another $1 million
Hmm.
out of it. Because, for example, Aztec was just like TVL was just going down at this point, and then TVL was like almost 5 million. They offer 450, and that's it. But if TVL was 10 million, maybe I would made $1 million. Maybe I'd made more money with the other ones. So, but we'll never know. Maybe there will be.
Do you, do
Uh,
you do you know what happened with Aztec? Wasn't it suspicious? Like it was, they had some great tech apparently, and then they just kind of shut down. And I heard it
I
was because of some governmental factors or something like that. But they just said, oh, you know what? We built all this and we're just shutting it down.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't have any information uh, on this. I only talk to them like about getting paid,
Hmm.
but um, I would guess it has something to do with all this Tornado Cash stuff. And
Yeah, yeah.
later, yeah, there was Tornado Cash had a bug bounty, and I was trying to find bugs in it at some point, and then I thought, oh god, thank God I didn't find the bounty.
You're
Thank God I
flagged.
didn't find the bug, and then I stopped. I don't delete this from my computer and wherever I don't want to touch the stuff, right? Because
Yeah.
um,
But like
yeah, this is
your
crazy.
your motivation on this, it's not I like, and this is my question to you because I was browsing your GitHub and I saw you put this thing breaking Noster, and it was this
Yeah,
censorship resistant alternative to Twitter. And I briefly heard about that, and I'm looking at your write up, and it's really long, and you took a lot of time to go into this, and I'm thinking, who does this? Who is this guy? You even put citations in here. What were you aiming to do? Like, why did you do this? Just out of pure interest?
yeah. Out of pure interest, I was intrigued by Noster, and I thought, yeah, we live in this world with lots of censorship and stuff, and maybe this is important. Um, but then I started looking into it, and I realized this is not really censorship resistant, or at least not much more than other stuff that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
Like the internet is in some sense censorship resistant. Like you can have your own computer and run stuff. Uh, and if people know your IP, they can go and find you, and you have Tor and stuff like that. And but there was lots of hype around it. especially in Bitcoiner community more. I used to be like read a lot of Bitcoin. I actually got into crypto mostly in Bitcoin, and then I started looking at other stuff.
Let's just put out
Uh,
you had a humble PR merged into to Bitcoin.
yeah,
A
I have a PR.
few understand. I say few understand, man. That's not an easy thing to get done. Like
Yeah,
this is
it's
when you have your morning coffee, you quickly submit a PR to Bitcoin, no
oh
big deal, gets
no,
accepted,
it's
$2
not
million
like that.
bounty.
It was actually a lot of work to get those, and I
Absolutely.
was, but it was very interesting in terms of learning. I learned a lot, and it was actually around tests for vulnerabilities. So that was kind of my path of understanding those things and uh, getting more into like deep technical stuff. And to be honest, smart contracts were not the thing that attracted me most. I What attracted me in smart contracts at first was really that, oh my god, it's so easy to get it wrong, right?
Mm,
Because when you look at Bitcoin Core, and they did have some very serious bugs. They don't have a bounty, as far as I know.
right.
Uh, but it's another level, right? There's so many people reviewing, and then months of discussions for every PR. And yeah, so, and even then you'll get bugs. And then Solidity, like someone just creates a wallet, lots of people start using it, and then there's just one function there that's missing permission or something, and then someone goes in there and freezes $100 million. That was crazy, and I thought, yeah, that's a good like market to look for vulnerabilities. I was thinking Bitcoin Core is too hard, and after getting those PR merged, I started thinking it's a lot of trouble. This is not going to get me money.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe one day I'll be a developer in some company or something. That was my original thought. But this smart contract thing, they need people to look into that.
They need the sloth. They need the
They
sloth over
need,
there. They
yeah,
do. Have you ever looked at some of the Bitcoin staking protocols like was it
yeah.
Babylon? It's like 5 billion staked. I think it runs on I think on Cosmos.
It's Cosmos,
They have
and
some
yeah,
contracts too.
I did, and I saw a recent bug, and I was like, oh my god, I could easily have found that. Easily, it's an understatement, but I could have found that. I was looking at that,
Well, what
didn't
happened?
find it.
Luck wasn't there
Uh,
that day.
it was something. No, they weren't exploited. It was a bug bounty. I was just, that was my bug. I feel like that sometimes, but at the same time, it's always interesting because then you get to learn something, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe you find the next one.
Yeah.
Many of my bugs were like that. Someone posted a write up, I looked at the write up, and then it was my entry point to some project or some technology. And then from that, I get digging, and eventually I find something different. Um, but yeah, I took a look, and there's also stacks, right?
Stacks.
Uh,
Yep. I've heard from
and
some people that it's there was quite a few bugs in there.
yeah, I did some digging there. I'm not sure what I can talk about. Uh,
Whatever you want.
but I mean, from my side. But so yeah, I do. I like that stuff, and I like Cosmos. I These days I think the thing is it's always changing, and but it's at the same time it's always getting more complex. Even
Mm,
smart contracts, that low hanging fruit might be hard to find today, but then you have huge code bases interacting with huge code bases across chains, and just like a sea of complexity.
yeah.
And that's where stuff start to happen, right? That's where you start to find bugs because it's too complex for the developers looking, and often the developer is looking at one part. He's developing one part, right? Or they are developing one part, and even them don't see the whole sometimes. And if you just keep digging and trying different things and asking questions, sometimes uh, you find some complexity that's not exactly how they assumed it to be, and then there's a bug.
That's a good
Uh,
viewpoint I didn't think about, is if you have a very complex project and then you have, I didn't think about that, where you might have different development teams internally and they
yeah,
might really not understand fully what they're interacting with. That is a very interesting angle.
it, usually there are some people that understand the whole of it, uh, but they don't have infinite time or 100 eyes.
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
it's just 2 eyes per person still, so they can't look at everything and they miss things, and everyone misses things. Like the $10 million wormhole bug. Lots of people could have found that,
Yep.
right? It was just one person was really fast uh, and found it before everyone else submitted and got it fixed. Thankfully, it was not another hundreds of millions of dollars lost. It was just $10 million paid to someone. And yeah, so
Yeah. A lot of this is right place, right time
yeah, I think there are
with
two
skill.
kinds of there is this I'm gonna find what everybody's looking for, but I am so good, or I am so lucky, or I am so fast that I'm gonna find this before, or I'm just gonna look at so many different places that I'm gonna find lots of this stuff. Uh, and the other is, you know what? Let's look for what nobody's looking for. And what's that? That changes all the time because, and then you have a write up, and then everybody starts looking for
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that thing. So it's always a moving target, and that's kind of why you never know how it's going to be next year. Um, these days, I don't hunt a lot in Solidity. I did have one Solidity bounty last year. I do some Solidity private audits. Uh, I still take a look. I Every now and then I take a look at this multi-million dollar bounty projects, but yeah, I I haven't found multi-million dollar Solidity bugs yet. But maybe you'll find next week. I don't know.
I wonder if there's like a chart. Someone made a chart where it has like most popular bugs. Okay, this time it was reentrancy and something like that, and then that drops off. And then, like you said, someone does a write. Okay, this one everyone chases this type of bug. I wonder if there's something that we could look at to see like which bugs were popular at what part of the timeline there.
I think someone does that. I think I saw an X post about that at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
probably. That's but yeah, you have to be looking for what no one's looking for. And how do you do that? What's your secret, Mr. Sloth? How do you hunt, man? How do you say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to ignore all these patterns. It's all memorized, but what are you looking for that no one else is looking for?" How do you kind of approach that?
so I try to look for the stuff everybody's looking for too, but what I do is I try like to follow kind of my curiosity because if it's something I don't understand, I it's like if I look at something and well, when first selecting a target, I look for something that has complexity, has potential for a good payout, uh, and but especially has complexity. Even
Mm,
if the maximum payout isn't that huge, if it's 100K, but six figures. uh, but then I start looking. I don't understand this. Why don't I understand this? And it's like I don't know, like a niche or something. I have to understand it. Why? I can't like just accept. I don't understand this. I will understand this,
mm,
and then I'll go and spend a lot of time, and often often I'll have like see those ghost bugs. I see, I don't fully understand this, and I look at this and I think this is wrong. This is so wrong. This is $1 million bug. I'm just seeing it right now. And then I
Mhm.
go understand it and I say, no, that is perfectly correct.
You call them ghost bugs. Yeah, I like that.
That was perfectly correct. But then I understand a bunch of stuff, and that opens the doors to finding something that potentially is not a ghost. Everything
Mhm.
like kind of starts uh, like this. You see something and oh my god, this is so good.
Yeah.
And I think this like faith and maybe even I don't know, like crazy rational belief that you look at some this is a bug. Those guys, come on guys, don't do that. You just missed here. You didn't check the sender or something. And then you go and find no, they are checking this somewhere else, of course.
Yeah.
They would not make something this stupid and with a $10
Do you
million
look at the code
bounty.
and then do you verify? Do you go to the tests afterwards to say, hey, did they check for it there?
Sometimes, yeah, often. I mean, if I think there is something, I will go look for tests. And but I will mostly not even trust their tests because
Mm.
what if they wrote that test wrong, right? And
Right.
I'll just try to test myself or at least understand better and see if there's a check somewhere else in the code. And and sometimes I will double check low level stuff and I will also get like sometimes I don't remember stuff and I say, oh, what if the EVM does this and that? And I just don't remember. What was that? And then I double check for the 10th time. And but that's good because that makes you look at stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I think you have to forget stuff to kind of look with fresh eyes, and then if you just keep looking at the same thing or keep doing, you start to think you know stuff, and your brain just like skips over it, and then because
Mhm.
oh, this is it's just the normal stuff. I know how this works, which is what developers do, right? Uh, because they have to write code and they are looking at the same code base all the time. And
Mhm.
then they look at a function and they think they know how it works because they look at it so many times. And then your brain stops thinking critically.
Mm.
And then you have to go for a long walk, maybe work on something else, and maybe give it a couple months, and then you come back and you think, oh my God, I forgot everything about this. It's so much waste of time. But then when you are relearning, you sometimes find stuff.
Hey, you know what I'm not noticing that much anymore is the optimizer bugs. Like you were making me think when the devs go in there and they refactor it to optimize it for gas, and there was some obvious bugs that people were introducing. I think that class is gone now. Like people have wised up.
I don't know. I think there might still be because lots of stuff is well, there are entire projects that are basically optimizing for yes. In a sense, roll-ups are just that.
Mm.
And yeah, there's a lot of development just for optimizing gas and lots of optimizations. And when I was in Web 2, I was always told like there's a saying for some famous software engineer, I don't remember who. Early optimization is the mother of all evils, or something like that. And yeah, there's just so much bugs, vulnerabilities in Web 2, Web 3 that are introduced because of optimizations. You because when
Because
you're
you're making a trade off.
yeah, and you are getting rid of when you optimize stuff, you are using wherever assumptions to the most extreme level. Like, I
Hmm.
know this is not zero, so I'm not going to check again.
Right.
Stuff like that, right? And then maybe it was not necessarily checked elsewhere, or You think it's not 0, but maybe it is in some circumstances.
Or maybe
then,
you could flip it to 0 through some sort of memory load or some
exactly.
strange case. Yeah.
And it goes in all kinds of stuff. For example, the Solana bug was actually an optimization bug.
Really?
Technically, I said it was a Fiat Shamir stuff, and technically it's not. But I won't go into that level of detail. It's just the general cryptographic protocol was correctly implemented, but you had to do a bunch of calculations on elliptic curves. This stuff expensive, and then to simplify, you do something that lots of implementations do, which is batching those calculations. You try to check 3-4 equations, and then you just multiply each one by a random number and sum all of it. And if the result is 0, all of them are 0 because it's random. So that's the only way you can. If you can only be sure the result will be 0 if all the components are 0, because it's random. But what if it's not really random? And that was the bug. It was not really random. The attacker could know it beforehand because it used a hash to calculate it, and the hash was not properly generated, and the attacker could know it before the attacker generated the proof. And then even though the entire cryptographic protocol and up to this point, this optimization, everything was perfect, the attacker could just fake a proof and do whatever they wanted.
But because they knew the hash was not properly generated, right? Because
Yeah,
it was missing. I forget those 2 points.
yeah.
They omitted that.
Because when you're doing this, like using for generating like a random for optimization, you you have to include everything. Usually, when you are generating a random for proof, you can't include the very last part of the proof because the prover has to use the random number in the proof. But when you're doing to optimize calculations, everything the prover sends you must be in the generation of the random number, in the hashing, because otherwise, because the whole point is they can't absolutely know what the random number is before. So and to be honest, that's common. That's actually my third bug. No, my second bug in that kind of optimization, which has a very devastating result, which is it will accept whatever proof. So you can do whatever you want, and the ZK system will verify and think it's all good.
I feel like there was a similar one that I saw with one of the JavaScript snark libraries. That was I have to look at it again, but it omitted one step from the hashing process, and that
Yeah,
exposed. Yeah, I have to look
that's
at it again.
actually a very large class of bugs, and it's well known, and it's been around. There's like write-ups about that. There's a series, I think, by Trail of Bits explaining that sort of thing. The thing is, it's usually so mixed with math and lots of code, and the code for that kind of stuff usually isn't super clear, and each project has its own. So and different languages, completely different libraries. So it's not an easy read. You have to uh, get acquainted with it for a bit before you find it. I mean, this one I identified and was able to test relatively quickly because it's just the second one almost exactly like that, and the third one in this general category of not using all the values in the hash. So at this point, I was pretty good at spotting that, but yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's like a simple bug, relatively simple, but but you have to understand the whole thing to really
Yeah,
spot it.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it's usually like that. The mistake itself is usually simple. I recently in a private audit, uh, I don't think I can say exactly details of who it was, but there was a critical that was a variable. There were two constants defined with different capitalization, and the wrong constant was used.
That's attention
And
to detail right there to catch that.
but and I didn't catch it by reading the code. I caught it because I was testing something else, and I only caught it in dynamic testing.
Okay.
And something went wrong. I didn't understand what, and then it took me a long time, hours. It was an audit. They can't spend like months looking for stuff. But and then I realized, oh my God, there are two constants that are the same. And one was an old set of constants that was still there in the code base, was not used anymore. It was just there just to confuse the developers.
Mm. The
It was a
deprecated
malicious
variable.
constant left there. Maybe it was a malicious actor that submitted a PR. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
Who
There's
knows?
so many things to trip you up and to
Yeah,
just to trip on these little trap doors. Hey, I wanted to ask you something that I saw you retweet, and I thought it was really, it's very kind of ambiguous. So InfoSec US, that team, and they tweeted
yeah.
this that there's a type of critical bug that contests and private audits can't find, only black hats and bug bounty hunters. And they're talking about to analyze the live blockchain state and all that. And my first thought was like, is this like dynamic arrays, the overflowing and overwriting storage slots? Like, what are they looking at? And I was curious if you had a take on it.
No, I didn't look exactly at this bug. I just the general idea. Yeah, I think there's stuff because audits um, have defined scope and a small time span, a short time span, and you can't really look at everything. You try, depending on the scope and the time allocation, to look at the uh, larger environment. Uh, but in real life, things just start getting used differently. And then you have tiny modifications deployed. And even when the context is mutable, and then you have integration with something else that starts using it. So it things have a life of their own, and you can't predict exactly all the interactions and all the configurations and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, so that's for example the very simple thing that's it's not very common anymore, but the initialization bug that you just have some implementation code that's delegated from a proxy, and then you don't initialize it, and then you can initialize it and self-destruct, and then everything's frozen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's
Never
a
see that
mis-
anymore.
it's a
Sadly.
misconfiguration, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's a
Right. In
misconfiguration
the
that
audit, it would pass. You say, okay, no problem. This will
yeah.
be fine.
I mean, if you are auditing the deployment script, which sometimes happen, not always, maybe you would catch it. But assuming there is an actual deployment script, like complete for deploying all the thing and checking, which is not always the case, and it wasn't always the case in the past. It was uncommon to have very structured deployment process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, a lot of stuff is like that, and sometimes the bug's just there waiting for years.
Yeah, I would say a great tactic would be for an audit firm because I don't see them auditing deployment scripts that often, but to just do the audit and then say, hey, do your soft launch or something, and then how about you relook it over a week after they've been deployed? Just check everything out. Just double check everything that nothing's fucked up. They didn't grant roles to the wrong people, or you never fucking know. I mean, I think I'd love to see that in the space.
Yeah, I think so, and Another thing that I think is interesting is the CTF sort of contest or bounty that it's live. It has actual funds, and you can just go there and get funds. If you report, then it's okay. You can keep the funds for a little while, right? Um, which kind of validates the deployment too, right? But again, just the initial deployment. If there's any change in configurations or new integrations afterwards, and then you can't do this sort of thing anymore, right? Uh, but there's always black hats to look for that.
Absolutely. Hey, I totally forgot to. We should do an alpha drop and throw this in here. Did you prep any? I'm gonna have
Oh
to
my
think of
god.
one just off the. Well, I'll give you some leeway time. All right, so I'm gonna drop one because I just thought of one because I was having a conversation with my friends over at LayerZero, and I was like, I don't know if you do this, but I go back into protocols. Like once I pick up a code base, it just kind of sits there, and I do random. I have a cron job that get pools, and I'll just keep going back every now and then just to see if I missed anything. And if you're familiar with LayerZero, or any listener is, they have this security model and these DVNs, and anyone can run the DVNs, but mostly everyone chooses this security stack where you have one out of two DVNs, and they have a certain amount of signers, and they verify the transactions, and executor calls it, blah blah blah. And I noticed with the DVNs, I was poking around and looking on chain to see who the signers were, and the security assumptions are not that clearly laid out to devs versus what LayerZero. And I'm not dogging on the guys; I think they made a great product, but the security assumptions. Um, Most people who use DVN, who use LayerZero, they plug it in and they're not checking the signers. I did a poll on X to find out. They're not checking the signers on the DVN to make sure they're not the same. Because if they are the same, say you have three DVNs and two DVNs have to sign off. Well, if you have the same signer, there's no unique identifier between the two. They do it cross chain. They use VID to check cross chain, so you can't do cross chain replay stuff. But on the same chain, they just completely omitted that, and it never came up in any audit, any of these things. So if you have DVN1 sign, it has signer A, and they sign off, the executor could just replay that signer on DVNB if it has the same signer, and then, well, you've only really had one sign off on it, even though it's the same signer. You're supposed to have the actual DVN sign off. So if anyone could do anything with that bug, I have no idea. But that's just something I noted in the past couple of days. So I'll just share that to give you time for that alpha drop. I know you were thinking about, Mr. Sloth.
Yeah. So on that note, this is something that I do. I kind of I write down. I have notes, just a text file I keep appending to, and I write on it like 100 times a day. Like I think of something and I write there, and I have those things that are almost bugs mapped in different places, and as long as it's not exploitable, sometimes I think maybe you should report it because it's, you know what, this is kind of a bug, but it's not a vulnerability. And if I report, I will not get paid, and they will not fix. So what's the point? So I just collect those informations, and sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes, and then I can find how to exploit it, or I see something very similar somewhere else. Uh, and and of course, for some projects, for the projects I am paying most attention, I watch their GitHub and I see. For some projects, I review every single PR. So I'm pretty much like a part of a dev team. Just the only thing is I only get paid when I find stuff. But uh, for some projects, I review every single PR. Um, yeah, some projects I review every governance proposal, and stuff like that. So I think the most important thing is, and maybe that's the alpha.
That's a
Like,
good technique.
like try to fully understand the thing, and uh, like you're part of a project, and not like just part of a project, like you're responsible for it, right? You every change in the code, you get to this point where you understand, and if someone is trying to change some part of a system, you can take a look and quickly realize the implications, and try to get to this point in one project, and then try to get this point in another one, and then uh, don't overburden yourself with like being an unpaid developer for everyone.
A dev on
But
commission.
yeah, but try to put yourself in that position. So if there's anything you don't understand it, and think of like, what if those were my funds and stuff like that, you know? Because then you start uh, being paranoid with small changes, and you see what's wrong with them. Um, a funny story is recently, this has happened to me multiple times. I watch PRs, and then you watch the PR lifecycle, and then the dev uploads the first version of the code, and you take a quick look, and oh, this is so vulnerable. This is so stealing TVL. Oh my god, this is awesome. I'm rich. I'm gonna make millions of dollars. And then the PR sits there for a long time. And then someone's review, and they, oh, it looks good to me. And oh, I'm gonna make $1 million here.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And then another one looks good to me. And then it sits there for a couple weeks. And then suddenly they fix the bug and merge. And then, oh, crap. Okay. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they merge. And a few times I had the POC ready. When they clicked release on that vulnerable code, I had the POC ready. I copy pasted it and submitted like in minutes the bug report, and I got paid. Most often they will fix it before, and sometimes there are auditors looking at the PRs to paid auditors,
So you
so they
didn't
will
even
catch it.
wait until it went on chain. You just said as soon as they
No,
put it on.
well,
Okay.
this would depend a little bit. I think the most sometimes this is like I keep thinking, what should I do? Because if it is live on chain, then maybe your payout will be bigger. If you wait for it to have more TVL, maybe your payout will be bigger. On the other hand, maybe it will be exploited. Your payout will be zero, and the project will
Mm-hmm.
tank. And there's all the stuff you learn in the project is worth nothing. Uh, so I think the most responsible thing is to report as soon as possible. However, uh, if you have a good expectation of getting paid, I don't recommend working for free. Um, I think eventually you'll have to report, but especially if you've been burning the project, then why bother?
Mm.
Uh, but in some cases it doesn't matter, because it's not like steal TVL. It's uh, uh, a lower impact bug, maybe still a critical or something, but it's gonna pay not 10% of funds at risk. It's gonna pay something smaller, but it's still a nice payout, and then you can just submit it as soon as it's in scope.
Mm-hmm.
And then it depends on the scope rules. Sometimes wherever is in a release branch is in scope. Sometimes that's not clear. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen I posted a tweet on this I think a year ago about that. Should I wait, to see if it gets deployed or wait for TVL? And the response was half and half. People were like, "No, wait, no, report immediately." So I agree. A lot of it depends, and I've seen guys not get paid out on the GitHub ones because the guy said, "Hey, no, we weren't going to deploy with that." They can make any excuse they want to just
Yeah.
blow you off. But
I
yeah,
mean, if it is
it's
in a
up to you.
released code, I mean, this one was blockchain. So typically you get a release and it's tagged as a release,
Mm.
and then you start talking to the community and people upgrade and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of time, but it's clearly uh, during
It's out there.
deployment, right?
Yeah.
It's out
Yeah.
there. It's clearly the production, the mainnet thing.
And that's a big save. Yeah. If you say, hey, this is going out to release, people are going to upgrade their nodes, and you're like, whoa, 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 hold on. I got this ahead of time. I think that's totally valid.
Yeah, and but yeah, well, back in 2019, I watched one for a year.
Lonely sloth watching from
And
the tree.
then it got fixed the last minute. And I was
Uh,
so depressed because it was going to be like a huge payout. And yeah,
the universe rugged you.
yeah. And
Well,
that's
Mr. Slot, let's do some questions because I got a
sure.
lot of feedback. If you're cool with that, and I want to start with the funniest one. This guy from the Discord, Nuop Dam, he says, "Why did you choose this planet? Because you see some you see some potential in us and want to analyze our behavior. And to not get bored, you decided to interact with our current technologies. And meanwhile, you made some millions of dollars." You're viewed. Did you ever? It's like you're a superstar. Like anyone who's on this Immunefi leaderboard. Shout out to Mitchell. Is a great idea. It's like you're a nerd superstar, and guys see it. Guys are like, "Oh my god!" And guys like you're hitting $1 million bounties, and they're like, "What the fuck? Who is this guy?" Like, what do you even say to this?
This kind of crazy. I mean, this whole like kind of celebrity life.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It is kind of weird because I know I go in my life and my daily life. Nobody knows shit about this, and it just my friends and it's just what do you do? I work with cybersecurity, and that's it. Oh, nice. Yeah, you good.
Well,
Good for you.
at some point, you decided to up your profile because you used to be Lucash Dev, and then you're
Yeah.
like, you
So
know what? I need what's this? What's this identity you came up with?
oh, this identity is basically at some point Immunefi. I had an ID that was just my email, and then Immunefi at some point decided that people should get proper usernames, code names, or whatever, and then they randomly generated for everyone, and then you can change. And mine was lonelysloth 1234 something, some random number, and I thought, oh, this is funny, but this number looks weird, so I just removed the numbers, and that's it. And then I became lonelysloth. And
Your whole
after a
persona
while,
now is Lonely Sloth. Totally
yeah,
random.
and after a while, they launched something in I don't remember what, and they said, "Oh, please share on Twitter." And I said, "I don't have a Twitter." Okay, then let's create a Twitter, and then I created the Lone Slot Twitter/X persona, and that's it. And that's the start of Lone Slot. And then I went to some AI and generated some pictures because generate a picture of a hacker called Lone Slot. And then, of course, it's a sloth wearing a hoodie.
I love it, man. I think the community loves it too. It's you somehow
It's
created
funny.
this. Yeah, it's fucking funny.
And I have a
Uh,
collection like of stuffed sloths now.
of course. All right. Next one here is from this guy called Chi Boom. He says, "You're one of the few found bugs in ZK. Do you specifically target such bugs? If so, how? And how do you think the industry is getting better? And those should be harder to find in the future regarding ZK bugs."
So I do specifically target those. Maybe not as much right now as I used to. Back in 2023, earlier 2024, just because I was explaining there aren't that many bug bounty programs that would pay uh, seven figures or wherever. So I I do look for that, but not as much. I think it's not like the hottest thing right now, but maybe it will be again. I don't know. It's just uh, I think it's super interesting. So and as a technology, I think it's gonna find lots of use cases, even outside of DeFi or crypto. Or I think it's an amazing tech. So I think it's something very interesting to learn.
Yeah.
And you should always try to learn things that you find interesting, because you're gonna be looking at that shit for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, ZK, what
So
once was theoretical and just on a white paper, I think back in the
yeah,
70s, is now in practice being used, and it is cool. You got to have that curiosity,
yeah.
or else you just won't do it. All right, we got a question from AV. He says, "How does Mr. Sloth approach learning a new topic? And the ZK Rust, etc. Do you read the docs, experiment? How do you start searching for bugs with regard to like the whole new subject matter that you're learning?"
So my uh, I first look. The code is the starting point and the end point always. Uh, so sometimes I will start looking into technology because of a write-up, and it gives just some level of explanation, and then understand a little bit, and that's enough to start looking at the code and understanding something. And then I would just look at one piece of code and try to understand it. Then I'll have a bunch of questions, and I will Google around and look at more code, and maybe look at documentation. And for ZK, that there weren't that many great resources back then, back in 2023. So I looked at lots of code. It probably took me like a couple months of full-time research into a single ZK code base before I could even feel like I could find something that classified as a bug. But these days there are lots of resources. Uh, but my approach is basically I look at the code, because then you find stuff, you understand stuff that isn't even in the documentation, or maybe it's wrong in the documentation. So uh, yeah, the sort of truth is always the code, and that's must be the starting and the end point. And you look at other stuff to help you understand the code. But that's how I approach it.
And do you have any favorite tools that you're using? Like, I think you mentioned you were using LLMs to kind of help you understand things, which I think a lot of people do now. Is that become part of your workflow?
Yeah, it has become sort of part. Sometimes I get like pissed at the LLM, and I don't know if I'm wasting my time with them, uh, because the general ideas it usually gets right. Simple POCs or simple scripts, it usually is good at generating. When you ask for very specific details, often it will just hallucinate whatever sounds more plausible, and just affirm that with 100% certainty. This is like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even argue with you if you try to convince it otherwise.
Yeah.
So, and then there's this other thing that's, well, as hacker SR sort of guy, I just end up spending a lot of time trying to break the LLM, and trying to convince it of weird stuff, and run. And it's, yeah, it's kind of a waste of time sometimes. And or
Oh,
just amazed at what it's doing and trying to understand, right? Uh,
yeah.
but for general questions and writing simple scripts, simple POCs, getting started with something, it's really, really good. It really speeds things up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yesterday, I
definitely.
did several iterations of a script, and I could have written it myself. I would have taken a couple hours at least, and I probably would be too lazy to do that. I would just, oh no, I'll just check manually, whatever. And it generated for me in 15 minutes several iterations.
Yeah.
So uh,
Yeah, great tool to use. Great definite tool to add to the workflow. Even if it pisses you off and it takes
yeah.
iterations, it's still a time saver for
But
the
you
most
can
part.
never completely trust it. That's
No,
the important thing. Just like you can't trust the developers, you can't trust documentation, you can't trust the LLM.
that's right. Or comments. Yeah, don't
Yeah.
listen to them. All right, we have another one. We have quite a few. I'll prune some of these. So from M5143R, he's got a bunch. So I'll just ask a few of these. Wow, this. So how do your big wins feel after you've had so many? Like, what is? in bounty hunting, that's your highs and lows, and you just got a big high. And how does it feel? Does it still hit the right receptors?
It's weird. It's different throughout the years. The first six-figure bounty felt absolutely amazing. I felt like, yeah, that's it. I'm rich now. I have all the money I want. I will never spend that much money, and of
And
course I
then you hit
spend
the
it.
club, and then it was gone.
And you buy a ticket, and you book a hotel, and you go to a restaurant, and then you see the bill, and then it's actually very easy to spend money.
Hmm.
But uh, and then and more than that, you feel like super validated, right? Because it's whoa, that's for real. People don't give that sort of money for nothing.
Hmm.
I did something important, valuable, hard to do, and that's why I got paid. And uh, and then you go through low, and then when you find another one, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm still the guy. I can do that. And but this last one, I didn't feel that much as excited as I thought about the money. Uh, I for starters, I am very, very skeptical at this point because I was burned so many times.
Mm.
So I don't believe the money's there until I see it. They might say I'm gonna pay you $1 billion. I don't believe it.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
gonna say $1,000. I don't believe it until I'm actually paid. And sometimes I kind of like try to desensitize myself not to get too excited because shit happens. Uh, but what was more excited and was more interesting was just the technical achievement and the recognition, because this one got me a level of recognition, and lots of people uh, asking questions and liking my posts, and retweeting and stuff like that. And yeah, it felt different. And I wasn't very sociable, I mean, online for a long time. And when I found other stuff, and this time I actually now I actually know a few SRs that I actually talked to. So they all went in to congratulate me, and it's a very nice sensation, right? It was a great feeling of like I'm doing something important here. It's more than the money itself. It was
Yeah. And you're more public now. You're
yeah.
joining the SR community. Just waiting to see you in the Discord, by the way, where we all talk about you all the time. But yeah,
Uh,
that's cool. It's good to see you out more public, man.
yeah, it's good to be there. I mean, I was very like shy and reluctant to start being more public, but yeah, I'm happy I'm doing this. It's like that. It feels like war, you know. You feel less lonely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to getting this recognition, and
Yeah, it feels good. Feels
I
good.
love the payout as well. I just want to be clear. I love money. I think money is a great thing, and I think everybody should like money and work for it. But
And
yeah.
and let me throw a quick analogy for so if anyone hasn't hit a big bug yet. So what he's talking about, like you gotta just pretend the money's not there, just play it cool. This is like because it's all guys listening, right? So this is when you go out with that hot chick and she's like a 10 out of 10, but you can't show your cards. So you got to just play it cool. You can't think about what's going to happen later that night. You just play it cool. Don't think about the final event. Just play it cool until, the clothes are off. Then you could think about it.
Yeah, but
Same
but it's
thing.
hard. And I think it's harder because I know sometimes it's a very long time, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's months, and it's your life. It's like it's like a very hot chick if you are completely in love with her, because it's something that's
You're
gonna
obsessed.
be you're obsessed, because it's gonna be important in your life, right?
Yeah.
Maybe today if it's like 10K, I will not obsess over it. I will just forget about it, and
Mm.
then I get paid. Uh, if it's 100K, $500K, $1 million, it's impossible. You keep thinking about that. You try to control yourself, but you think, and if it's paid in tokens, and then you keep looking at the price of the token, and
You can't ignore it.
yeah, it's you can't ignore it. You try to focus on other things in life, but it's hard. It's a good problem to have, but
It's a good problem to have.
like
You had this great quote on your HackerOne profile. It was the Latin phrase, and it translated to "stronger from wounds."
yeah, I use
I
that.
love
I
that.
think I use that for my like. I tried to use that for my username. I think I thought of starting a company with that name. I don't know.
After
I
getting rugged so many
then
times,
I
wounding you, you're getting
and then I
stronger.
completely forgot about it. I never used that phrase again. And my HackerOne profile was very inactive for a long time. And yeah, after Immunefi, I never looked back. And then only recently I submitted a few there.
Yeah. All right. A lot of these questions center around the same kind of topic, and it's the same thing that I get reached out to on and what's in the Discord. It's new guys coming in and they're ambitious, and everyone kind of asks the same thing. Like they might listen to this podcast because they want to know like your secret, everyone's secret. Like how the fuck is this guy dominating the space? And everyone's got a different approach, and you know, I don't think you have any big secret other than being curious and just being dedicated and sticking to it and reading the code. But what do you think? Because these are all centering around like, what do you see the potential for noobs to get up in here and like, how do you get after it and like,
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I think lots of that is like when you buy a book about, I don't know, uh, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Warren Buffett, and how do I get rich and successful and start a big company or do
Mm-hmm.
things like this guy? And there are lessons there, but I'm not comparing myself to them. I'm not saying I'm on that level. What I mean is, you look at someone that's successful, and the reality is, if you try to copy that, it's not going to be exactly the same. You kind of have to find your way. But at the same time, I think the most important thing in whatever you were trying to do in your life, anything, is consistent effort. Just keep
Mm-hmm.
doing it and try very hard and try very hard again and 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 again. I I've been working and been in software for a couple decades, and like I didn't expect to to have that success like this late in my life. I so it's not like I at the same time, there are people who just started and doing amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that's it. If it doesn't work first time, try the second, try the third, the fourth. Uh, Try intentionally, try to learn what you did that, not like kicking yourself, but like just learning stuff. Not oh my god, I did it all wrong. No, just uh, what can I do different? Is there a different way I can try? Uh, but I think consistent effort is the key to pretty much everything, like any sort of
Agreed.
success in any field. It's
Agreed.
more important than natural born talent or even luck. You always need a little bit of luck, but if you try enough times, luck becomes much easier.
Yeah, and in this day and age of 5 second attention spans and swiping and everything's quick and fast money, I'll tell you this: nothing good comes easy. Nothing worth doing
Yeah,
is going to come easy. There's outliers, of course. However, just expect to put the work in. If you put the work in, I'm confident you'll see results. That's what I'm talking about.
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, big Mr. Sloth, we are deep in hour and 20 minutes. You're the longest guest so far.
Oh my god, because I'm a
Let's
sloth. I'm very slow.
Oh, hey, it was
I
a
need my
pleasure having
time.
you on, man. This is great, man. This is a very sought after pod. So we'll see if you could beat the viewer metrics. My other top guy was my first guest, Dead Roses. And I think he got all the Bulgarians to watch the video all at once. So he bumped up the stats. Who knows, man? But hey, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Everyone check out the Linktree, Bounty Hunters, Discord, all the deals. Get recon at xyz/riptide. Rare skills. Get some skills up in there. And we will see you next time on the blockchain.